Welcome everybody to this new webinar of the HelloID release, of the July release. So in this webinar we're going to show you the new features available since last Monday when we released the July release. Of course we already shown the release videos, but now we're going into the functionality a little bit more in depth, and also how you can use this in practice or in the field. If you never want to miss a webinar or a release video or something like that, please subscribe on our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon, so you will never miss a webinar or product release video or documentation or anything we release currently on HelloID. So I think we can begin, and of course if you have any questions during this webinar, you can just ask them in the chat and I will try to answer them. And I will also maybe ask some questions during the webinar. So let's start with the new functionality. Our first new functionality is for service automation, and you can find it if you go to the admin portal and you go to delegation, but it's also on more places, but I will talk about it a little bit more. But if you go to delegated form, and let's say we have a already prepared delegated form, show rules in this case, and if I go to my task, you will see here it's empty. It's the beginning of something, so I just created a new task. And with this you now have a new button which sets a default script. So if I click on this, you have an example script of what should be here. So here's a little bit help with how you can use global variables from the variable library, but also how you can use form values from the form element, which is sent as input into the script, but also how you can do audit logging or write information, a little bit of a try-catch template, and audit, sending an audit message back. So this is all our examples that can help you make your code quicker and have a good example on how it should work. This is not only available for the delegated forms task, but also for the data sources with the scripting and the new product actions, which are currently in beta. So the new actions, but I will show that in the next feature. So this is really helpful. You can just click on the button and you have the default script. Of course, when there is a script, you don't see the button, but if I clear this again, you have the button again because there is no script inside here. So I can add it again if I want to start from fresh. Let's go to the second feature for service automation. And before I'm going to show it, I have to say that this is still currently in beta, so you don't see this as default in production. We can enable it for you so you have a glimpse of what is coming. And it will be released in the August release, so we are pretty far with the new functionality, and that is that you can run product actions in the cloud, and also it's almost the same as the delegated form, so it's a lot quicker. You can put in the scripting a lot easier. You don't have to create a different script somewhere else, but you can just do everything in one screen. So it's still in beta. If you want to see it, contact your support department because we can enable it in portals, but don't use it in production environments or let's say production systems, because it could have breaking functionality until the release. So what's new for this? So if I go to service automation, I go to products, and let's say I go to Adobe Photoshop as an example. You will see here the actions new. If you don't have this, the feature isn't enabled for your portal, so keep in mind. And you can add actions here. So I can add a, let's say a test action here. Or no, let's say add a group membership, something like that. Let's add it. and then I can also the same button, set this full script. It's also available here, and here you can select if you want it run it in the cloud, yes or no. It's all the same as previously. What is differently with this release is in the request history, because previously you didn't see the task that's run for the setup. But if I go to something I created here, so the docs marketing permissions, it has kind of a new action like that. And if I go here, you can see also the task execution for that new platform as you've seen in the old actions. So it's almost the same, but now if you go to view logging, you'll have a whole new screen where you can see the audit logging, the task logging, if any notifications are sent, and form data. So there is a lot more information than the old actions, I would say. And of course, also if you want to do a retry, you can do it now. So if I'm retrying it, you will see it's running. And I think I need to refresh the screen. Task execution, now you see it's done. And if I go to view logging, you will see, okay, it's I tried it the third time and it's the second retry. So this was the first time I prepared this demo, so I retried it already, and I retried it again here. So you can everything you can see here. So for the retries, no notifications are sent. There is no task logging available because I didn't put it in my script, and I think there's no form data because there is no form in this product. But else you will see the data here. So it's really neat. So we're almost done with the new actions, and it's going to be released in August. But for now it's still in beta. Please try it, and if you say, okay, this doesn't work, or I don't like this, please put it on feedback.helloid.com so we can address the issues and see if we can change it and update it. And the main reason why we do this new actions is that we can run it in the cloud and not only on premise. So I think that's a big benefit for everybody if we can do that. Those are the changes for service automation. In the next webinar, I'm going to focus a little bit more on this new functionality and show a little bit more about that, because I think it's better if we release it, then I can show everything, and I can devote a webinar to it. So I'm going to move to provisioning now, and there we have a big new feature, and that's the sorry, let me first check if there are any questions before I go ahead. No, there aren't any new questions. So let me skip to provisioning then. So if we go to provisioning, in the last release we changed the notifications up. We split the configuration and the system. So if you go to systems, you will have only an email system here, and that was the only system you would have, and there was no option to create a new system. But that was a pre-release for this new feature and functionality where we can create new notification systems. And it's a little bit of a complex topic, but I'm going to try this and explain as good as possible. But first off, we have a difference between the configuration and systems. So in the configuration, you can create new notifications. Like I can create here a new notification. I can say, okay, this is when a person is onboarded, I want to send a new notification, or a person has a new account. Maybe that's a better description. And I can choose an event, account create. I can choose the target system. So in this case, I want to have it for Active Directory on premise. That's the case. And this button is a little bit new because here you can select which notification you want to use. You can still use the email just like previous. That was the only option you had. But now I've created some systems. And of course, these are a little bit of dummy systems currently, but in the future we will have on GitHub some systems available that you can maybe import. But for now I can say I want Twilio. For guys that don't know Twilio, Twilio is a SMS provider. You can send SMSs with them, but also WhatsApp messages, email messages, I think even voice calls and things like that. And with this notification system I've selected, I can now choose a template. And I've configured in the system here that I have 3 templates for Twilio. So I have an SMS WhatsApp, I can send an email or a voice call. Let's select SMS WhatsApp. And now I can go to configuration, because based on the template I see some fields here. So I've used the SMS WhatsApp template, and here I can see, okay, I want to use the 2 phone number. So the SMS is sent to this mobile phone. And also I can put in a message here. The account is created for person with a username. And within this message I can use, just like an email, I can use variables like account, username as example, or account and additional fields and user principal name. Those are different and based on which system you're using. Another one is SAM account name for Active Directory, because I select that. But it really depends on the system that you've selected. Currently there isn't a lot of help with these variables, but that's coming up in the next release. Then we have a list or something like that where you can select which variable you want. And here I can select a SMS or WhatsApp, whatever I want to send. So let's say, okay, I want to send an SMS. I think that's more international than WhatsApp. And then I can save. But I can use different types of notifications or different types of systems. This is Twilio, which is an SMS provider, but other examples are maybe a secure email. So not a default SMTP kind of email, but secure emails are mostly used with APIs, and they really have a nice trail of how the email is tracked and how it's sent and things like that. So it's more secure. Another one is an ETSM system or something like that, like Topdesk or Zendesk, where you can create incidents or create changes or requests and things like that for your service desk. You want to know that you want to send to the service desk that a account is created because they have to fix a laptop or something like that, or a phone, or it's something where a process is started inside there. Although you can create systems, you have to be aware that there's a big difference between notifications and between target systems. Notifications are more fire and forget, because there is no state that a notification is sent or something like that. Yeah, we have audit logging, but we don't have an entitlement state like a target system. So please don't use the notification systems as kind of permissions where you send something like the service desk should add these groups to Active Directory, because then it's better to do this in a target system or something like that, with an email inside the target system instead of using notifications. But how does this work and how is it configured? Because this is what you can use, and this is more like what a customer can configure. But I think for partners and maybe more advanced customers, they can create their own systems. And how does it work? How does a system with the templates, how it is created? So let me go to tab bar. So if I go to system, and in this case Twilio, which is my example system, I just have my normal target system fields like the name. I can put in an icon, a little description, and I can execute it on premise or in the cloud. I can do both. this case it's executed in the cloud. And another thing is I can, just like a target system, have custom system configuration fields. So with this, it's just the same like a target system. It's the fields that I want to connect with the system. So for Twilio, I have a SID, a token, and an URL. I think with most of the systems you will have kind of these fields, maybe a token and a URL, or an API key and a URL, something like that, or maybe username and password, something to connect with the system, and maybe some system-wide defined parameters. Maybe how the system is used, or things like that. Or maybe some default values for that system. That's also something that could help. That's the configuration. And if you configure the 3 fields, you will have a new tab here, just as the target system, and a customer can fill in the account SID, the token, and the URL. Those will all these values will be sent to your scripting, and you can use those to connect to the system, do something with it. And the other thing is templates. And templates defines the data that is configured inside the message, and could also help fill in the notification message, and maybe have some examples in it, some default values and things like that. But also some other neat tricks. If you go to templates, you will see I have a SMS/WhatsApp, an email, and a voice call, just like I did in the configuration, which one I could select. And within these templates, I can also define fields that I need. So in this case, I need my phone number, I need a message, which is a text area, and I need a type selection if I want to send a SMS or a WhatsApp. I can add more fields if I need to, but I think for sending a SMS/WhatsApp, those are the only fields I need. I have a lot of different field options. So it supports Formally. I don't think it supports all the options in Formally, but a lot of them. And we can do some really nice tricks with it. But there is a difference between the templates and the configuration. So the configuration is more system-wide. What do I need to connect to Twilio, which is system-wide defined. And for the templates, it's more specific for that type of message. And those are different concepts. If I look at my email, I have different fields because I have a subject and an email message, and then from email address as example. And my voice call only needs, I think, a from and a to phone number and an URL to voice, which is some kind of XML file which represents the voice call that you could do with Twilio. My question to you guys is, if I want to configure a from phone number, where do I configure? Do I want to configure it in a configuration or the system configuration, or do I want to configure it in a template configuration? I'm going to send out a poll, and we will check the results later on if I after a while, so you have the time to fill in the poll. Those are the main differences between configuration and templates. And like I said, you can do a lot of things with the templates. And to explain the concept of the templates, it's important to know that there are two different types of templates which you set up. And the first one is the one that we already talked about a little bit, and that's field-based differences in templates. So if I define an SMS or WhatsApp in my configuration, I need different fields than when I'm defining an email or voice call. So if I go into my configuration and I'm say, okay, I will create a new notification here, just say test, something like that, doesn't mind for the system, Twilio. If I have my email here, and I go to configuration, I have different fields here which I can fill in for sending an email. Then I have a voice call, or I have an SMS. So those already are different reasons why I have different fields, and I can create different templates. The other reason, but before I go to the other reason why I create different templates, is sometimes you define different templates based on the fields, but you only have one scripting version. So that's really important to know. So if I go to the system Twilio and I go to templates, I have just a single PowerShell script which I can start, which will run when the notification is sent. So it's really important to know, because I don't have a template inside my code, but I can do this with a nice tweak, because I can say here, okay, I can define an extra field. And let me say, I want to say script flow as example. And it is an input, and I call this as SMS. I don't need the WhatsApp part, because I know if it's this flow, then it's okay. Label script flow, and I say here it's hi, it's true. Oh, sorry, disabled is true. Then you still see it, but it's disabled, so the customer cannot select it, so cannot put different variables in it. And I can even say here hide dot true. So now it's even hidden, and I can use this script flow variable inside my scripting to define, okay, I want to send an SMS. But then I have to do this for all the different templates. So I also should add this to the email, of course. So I can say here script flow, and then it's the default value is email. The person that creates the notification cannot change it, so then it's available as email in my script when it's fired, executed. So if I go to my script, you will see here template configuration script flow, and then it's SMS, or else it's email or something like that, or another if statement, and I put in my code for email. So that's really important if you have different kind of fields. And also I can check on the fields, of course, but I think it's neat that we can put in hidden variables that you don't see when the notification is created, but you can send or define in your template, which helps you configure something which is configurable inside the templates and not in the scripting. So that's really important if you use different templates with different fields. The other option is data. So you could create different templates with different default values. As an example, I have a different system here, Topdesk. And for Topdesk, it's an ITSM system which can send in incidents or changes. So let's focus a little bit on the incidents template. And if I look at here, you'll see that I can create an incident with a person name and a short request explanation why it's an incident, and you can put in the description. And it has a branch, but this one is disabled. But what I can do is say, okay, my template here, I call this instance for location barn. But we have a new location, so I can say, okay, here, incidents, location, let's say Amsterdam. We keep it in the Netherlands. And let me copy my configuration. It's a little bit quickly, and let me change the default value here to Amsterdam. It's still disabled, but you can still see it. And now I have two templates based on different data. So now if I go to my configuration and I create a new notification, just create a test again, and I say HelloID, my notification is top desk. I can select here my incident, let's say Byron, and if I go to my configuration, you will see Byron. But if I go to my other template, Amsterdam, you can see here the configuration is automatically defaulted in Amsterdam. Also, I can say this field is hidden, but in this case, it's nice for me to show to the customer. You cannot change it, but show to the end user or the person that configured this. Oh, the value is Amsterdam. And with this, you can do a lot of things with the data, with the fields. But please keep in mind that these templates, they are limited to 10 templates per system. And with the data templates, it could grow exponentially, because if you create a incident template for each location and you have more than 10 locations, you're above it, right? In general, if you're using data to extend your templates, it's okay, but please check if you don't have too much of a variables to create in the templates. And also, if you have the information available in your source system, like HR, please use that, because I can also say, not as default value barn, but I can also use something like person, and I think it's something like details and location or something like that. I don't know the exact value, but there are some person fields that you can put in the location in, and you can map it here. And then it will use the source information from the person and send that value instead of a static value that I defined. So if you use multiple templates based on data, please use variables, because else it can grow. And I think this is easier to define and easier to use on the longer term. So let me check the poll if there are any votes. Yeah, most of the votes are for the template configuration. That's also something I would do. So I would put it in the. Oh, you cannot see there. But there are 3 votes, and 2 votes are for the template config and 1 vote for the system config. Some can say, okay, if the from phone number is a phone number for all the templates, and you need to use it for to get the correct authentication key, because maybe Twilio checks on your from phone number, because you cannot send it from all the phone numbers, so you have to register that one, and you can only create a authentication key based on the from phone number. You can put it in system config. Also, I would put it in the template config. Also keep in mind that if you put it in the system config, you can never override it with something you put in the notification. So it's always that value. If you put it in the template config, you can define if you want to have it overridden. You can say, okay, it's allowed to override it in a notification, but this is the default value. But you can also say, okay, it's disabled, it's not visible, but you cannot override it. But also you can say, okay, it's hidden and it's disabled, so you cannot see it. It's a static value, and then it's almost the same as system configuration, but it's more, you have more options inside the template. So I think that's a really strong side of the template configuration. When do you use something like this? I think it's really important to check if an account is created. You can send a ITSM request. Hey, this account is created. The service desk maybe has to do some manual steps, so you can send that, and with the account and maybe even the password if you want to, so they can do some other manual stuff. Another one is if you want to send the password with an SMS or with a secure email. You can do it separately from a welcomes email with the username. So the password and the username are separately sent through different channels. Another thing you could use is we have the default email available, but if you really want to use your own SMTP server, you can say, okay, the notification system, I want to execute it on premise and send an email with the PowerShell library. Also, I have to say the functionality in PowerShell is deprecated to send email, and there is no other new function. But it is available, so if you want to do it like that and you don't want to use our own email provider or email server, then it's okay. You can do that. Or as an example, in the healthcare and I think governance, they're not allowed to use public email servers or even their own email servers in some cases, so they need to use the secure email platforms, and you can do this with this setup. There are no other questions. I think this is everything from this feature. So it's a big feature with a lot of options. So please click through it and check it out. And I think in the future this will become more powerful if we have the conditional events available, if the PowerShell, the new PowerShell system is online, and if you have the suggestions for the variables available in the next release, because then it's easier to put in some variables. Let me check one time if you have a new question. I don't see a question here, but I think there is a question because I see it on my mobile. There's a question for Jarno Tensen. The form is static, not variable. Yes, the fields in the form are static, so it's not based on, let's say, you cannot create it based on PowerShell code, but of course the values can be variable because you can put in data from your source. But it's also limited to one field. But yeah, if you want to have more information, you can just make a custom field and put in more information in that field and send it through. And of course you can do things in the PowerShell script, whatever you want with the data. But yes, the form is static. And Jan is also saying currently we use the notification for sending a welcome message with initial password. Our HR department wishes to send different welcome messages with different onboarding steps based on different functions, like different email templates for specific functions. Is this possible now? No, I would recommend to wait for the conditional events, because then you can say, okay, I want to start a different event based on this function, and then I create a different notification template to it, or with the static data, or say I want to fill in. But it really depends on what you want to do differently between the email templates, because if it's just dynamic data, it's the same template, and you want to have a different function filled in, or you have a different department fill in, then you could do it already. But if you really want to have different email templates, I don't know, different company or different structure inside the email templates, you have to wait for conditional events to be released. Hopefully this will answer your question, Jarno Tensen, and thank you for your question, of course. When is that release? I think you're talking about the conditional events. So it is available for the new PowerShell, but that's currently in beta. Hopefully in the next 3 to 4 releases it will be out of beta, because we have gotten a lot of feedback from you guys. So we want to address that before we put it in a release date, because those new features will break the PowerShell code, and I think it's better to wait a little bit longer to release that and don't have breaking changes in the PowerShell code, because that's really awful if you build a system. And after that, we're going to also put it in for Active Directory system. That's not yet on the roadmap, but it will be soon. So I think it's going to be, a Q4 or something like that, be available in full. So hopefully that answers your question. I don't think there are any other questions. Oh, yeah, Jarnatan says okay. Okay, then I would like to thank you for your attention. If there are any other questions, of course, if you have any feedback or want some new features, or say I really need this or I need that, you can put it on feedback.helloid.com. Also, if you want to see what's upcoming, the upcoming 3 months are planned. You can see that on the roadmap.helloid.com. After 3 months, we have a milestone overview, which gives you more what is our priority to finish and add to the product, but it's more on a higher level. And of course, don't forget to subscribe on the YouTube channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss a webinar and have this information like this. So thank you for watching and listening, and till the next release.